Okay, you can start.
Oh, I thought you were going to start.
Oh, am I going to start? Okay.
Aren't you going to welcome everybody? And
Yes. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you. Thank you for making time to come to the training session. Um and we like to have this orientation to kind of give you a better sense of what you should be doing in your groups, but also to talk to you a little bit about the role of a coach and how to handle different types of situations and things like that. This year it's a little bit tricky because we didn't have enough people sign up, but I am getting people to kind of fill in, like a week here and there. So I haven't sent out your exact assignments yet, like which group you're going to be with, but hopefully I'll get that to you soon. As much as possible, we are trying to keep you with your group from last year, but your tutor from last year. But for some of the groups that have two people that had signed up, I will need to talk to you about switching to one of the other groups. So yeah, but we'll go over just some general things, and then we'll go through some scenarios as well.
okay. Well, Jill, you mentioned to me that you got a really good group of students this year, and I am looking for them. I don't see them here,
Yeah, none
but
of them are here yet. No,
none of
I'm
you are
just
me.
kidding.
Okay. Just kidding, guys. I can see this is an awesome group. All right. All right. Well, let's talk about expectations, and I will let Dr. Omori kind of start with this. She is your course director for this elective. So,
Okay. So basic expectations, you should be attending at least one PBL tutorial per week. We a lot of times the coaches go to both. During the week, it gives you a better sense for how the students are doing. Because sometimes, it's good to see them go through step one of one case and then, go through their LIs for the next round. So if you feel like, you can't stay the whole time, maybe you could, come for like step one day and then look at step two the next day, just so that there's that continuity. But even if you can't, like if you can only come 1.5 days, at least it'll give you a sense for how their LIs are doing and how they're processing the case and things like that. In addition, we do want you to meet with each of your groups for one meeting. And it's usually around an hour, but it's give or take outside of PBL time. And we kind of have specific topics that we'd like you to cover for each of the weeks. And so the first week is finding resources and researching LIs. The second week is tips for hypothesizing and doing need to knows. The third week is creating LI handouts and presenting LIs. And then the fourth week is maximizing the PBL process and tips for efficiency. And then, of course, every week, you can add in some general study tips for MD1 as well as just kind of in general, like first year. Um, in the past, sometimes the coaches have decided to kind of get together and create like a handout that everybody's going to use for the same week, or like a little PowerPoint that you'll go through with your groups. And it's kind of nice to share with each other that way. And then that way you also can assure that every group is kind of getting the same message and we're not sending kind of mixed messages out there depending on who the coach is. This might also make it easier actually for the students that are just coming in piecemeal and kind of covering groups week by week. If you guys want to do that, want to kind of get together and make those standardized study sheets. Okay, I think that one.
okay.
Okay. Oh, so also, this isn't mandatory, but I'll just tell you that every other group has done it. So,
No pressure.
so no pressure, but we hope you guys will also do it. So usually the coaches put together a review session before the midterm, and to kind of go through, and you guys can choose what kind of format you want it to be. Maybe some of you remember when the coaches did it for you this past year. Sometimes they do it in the form of a game. Sometimes it's just kind of a general review session. And so if you guys decide to do that, then we would suggest that that be done on Wednesday, August 14th, from 11 to 12. So we have already set aside time in the schedule for you to do it at that time. Not all of you have to come. So, what you could do is like maybe, some people can, that maybe if you're not going to be available at that time, maybe you can help to put together the review, and then hopefully, some of you would be available that day to help with the review. So, yeah, that if you guys are amenable to that, that would be great. And then if you are going to be doing like other reviews, we kind of ask that like you guys kind of get together if you wanted to do more reviews than just that one review before the mid-unit, and to offer it to the whole class, because in the past, sometimes, certain coaches would have like all these review sessions for their group, and then the other groups wouldn't get it. And so then there was this feeling of unfairness. And so if you are going to decide to do extra review things, or like you're going to talk about some other kinds of tips and things like that, if you guys can get together and then maybe offer it to everybody instead of just your group, that would be great as well.
So let's talk a little bit about what we do in our coaching role. And I think the term coach was a good one that Dr. Mori picked for this particular task, because it really is about helping people perform at their best and help them improve from where they are to where you think it would be helpful for them to be. So the goal of coaching in general is to just help someone improve their performance. So teaching is really kind of giving someone information that they can choose to apply later on. Coaching is really about changing or improving performance over time. So generally speaking, coaching includes things that are performance focused. In this case, you are PBL coaches, you are study coaches, and those are the things that we'll be asking you to help the students improve on in their performance. Generally with coaching, there is a focused agenda, whether that's softball or judo or whatever it is. So in this case, again, it's going to be specific to the MD1 PBL experience. Task-oriented, very similarly. Implied or explicit authority. We've given you a title as a coach, and I think that's important, because with that title comes some responsibility and some accountability. And as Dr. Mori was saying, we'd like to see a little bit of uniformity across the coaches. It's nice to have everyone say, oh, you're the best coach. I know that feels really good when they say that. But it also, I think, helps the entire class if we are a little bit more collaborative. And then again, you are anointed formal coaches, so you can wear that title with great pride. Now, some of you are going to go beyond coaching, which is wonderful, into the area of what we call mentoring. Mentoring is really a cool concept, and it's more than coaching. So you can see from this image, coaching is again more short term. In this case, MD1, 4 weeks, at least the first 4 weeks before you start your MD6 experience. And again, it is focused on specific things and tasks, in this case, the MD1 agenda or skills. Mentoring can go on much longer than that. And there is a chance that for some of your students that you'll be meeting in MD1, your relationship will go beyond coaching them in MD1, and you will become kind of a big sibling for them moving forward, and offering them good advice throughout medical school and maybe even beyond for that matter. And that goes more to the mentoring arena. Perspectives, again, very open with mentors too. It might not just be study skills. It could be other things, work-life balance, and managing relationships outside of school, whatever. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that might come up. So one of the fun parts about being a teacher, one of the fun parts about being a coach, one of the fun parts I think about being a physician is that you can develop mentorship relationships with others that are extremely rewarding. So if you have that opportunity, go for it. So Dr. Mori knows I take this too far and she starts rolling her eyes, but I do think there's a lot of good things from athletic coaching we can apply to what we do in our MD1 coaching roles. And here are just a few of those things. So setting and modeling high standards. I know all of you, and I was joking earlier, you guys are the cream of the crop. And we kind of expect you to model that kind of persona, that kind of behavior, that kind of ethical standard as you talk with them. And sometimes that requires a little bit of restraint, right? I know Taylor is thinking right now, the MD1 exam was so easy, all right? But he may not say that in those words. He might reassure the students that they'll do fine, that if they study and they'll be okay. But sometimes it takes a little bit of restraint in terms of where we really are and how we present ourselves. Okay? Patience, really important. You would like to see these students jump to where you are in terms of study efficiency and LI prep immediately. It doesn't happen that way. It's going to be a developmental process for them, guys, just like it was for you. And sometimes the worst thing we can do is give them a lot of shortcuts before they have fundamentals down. Certainly in sports, that's a recipe for disaster. Okay. Understanding their developmental readiness, it evolves dramatically during MD1. When they come in, they're going to be very unsure about a lot of things and maybe even a little overconfident about some things. And then reality starts to sink in pretty quickly. And they realize there's some things that they should be more confident about. And there's some things they probably underestimated. So your job is to kind of diagnose them as you go through. We want to make suggestions. We like to make recommendations, but remember, there's always more than one way of doing things. And all of us have our own styles and preferences that work best for us. So making recommendations, but still letting people explore a little bit. A little bit of trial and error is okay in MD1, not as safe in MD2 and beyond. But in MD1, I think it's still pretty safe. So if they need to figure it out for themselves, that's okay. Empathy, which we've talked about in the concept of clinical skills, just a belief that the students you work with are going to be okay, just like you guys turned out to be awesome. A little bit of content mastery is nice. It's not critical, but the MD1 content really hasn't changed that much from last year. So I think you'll be very comfortable and familiar with most of what we're covering. And again, this really fine line between autonomy, letting them grow on their own, and support. And that line moves from moment to moment, student to student. And that's one of the tricks, I think, with good coaching is figuring out where you are on that continuum. So let me pause there for a second, see if either Dr. Mori has any comments or any of you have any questions or comments about this. I think this really is kind of the background for what you're going to be doing with your students.
I think the only comment that I would have is, just to reiterate that, we're not expecting you folks to be the teachers, to teach the content to them. You're really just kind of helping them through the process. So, and I'm not sure if, I forget if this is on a future slide,
Mhm.
Richard, so sorry if it is, but we also wanted to just kind of make sure that you folks know, um, so you are representing as a MD1 coach, right? You're representing the school and not like you're just your personal opinions. And so hopefully your personal opinions don't differ too much from what we expect from the students and what we would like you to do. So this is not the role that you should be kind of saying, oh, they tell you to do this, but you really should do this. Like that really is not what we need you folks to do as coaches. So as coaches, you're supposed to be reinforcing the good habits that we're trying to get them to learn and then continue throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think coach is a good word. I think ambassador might be another word that describes who you are. You're representing a larger group or institution, in this case, the school. So thank you. That's a really good distinction. I thought you were going to tell your butterfly story again, but I think we're going to, don't worry, guys, you'll get to hear everybody's butterfly story soon enough. All right. Oh, and here it is. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to put myself on mute because I start snoring as she tells this story. But when you're done, Jill, just let me know and I will come back on. Here we go.
He secretly loves this story, so but this is a good story to just reinforce another of the principles we would like you to follow as a coach. So there was a you guys all know how like butterflies come out, right, of the chrysalis or the cocoon, right? So there is a teacher that had a cocoon, or I forget which is, I don't know if butterflies are with chrysalises or whatever, but she had one in her classroom, and they were all watching and waiting for this butterfly to come out of the cocoon. And it looked like this butterfly was trying to come out, and it seemed to be struggling quite a bit, and that is coming out very slowly. And so then she thought like, oh, maybe it would be good if we just kind of helped the butterfly to come out so it doesn't have to struggle so much, right? So really gently kind of put in, use some scissors to kind of cut open the cocoon so that the butterfly could come out easier. And so then the butterfly did come out, but then when it came out, it couldn't fly because its body was all swollen. The body of the butterfly was swollen, and the wings were shriveled, kind of shriveled looking. They weren't like formed like they're supposed to be. And so it turns out that butterflies, as they're coming out of the cocoon, part of that struggle in coming out helps to push the fluid from their body into their wings, and it helps them to form their wings, and so that by the time they come out of their cocoon, that they're formed well and they're ready to fly. And so this is kind of like you folks, right? Like I think that a lot of times, and I think I probably do this as well, like we all want to help our students, and we want to help them to succeed, and we want to try to maybe make things easier than it was for us. But a little bit of struggle is really necessary, right? Like if you don't let students struggle, then they're not going to kind of reach the potential that they really can. And so a little bit of struggle is good. So don't feel like you have to, give them all the answers or help them with everything, and certainly, not giving them your LIs like, hey, I had that LI last year, so here's my LI, and you can use it to help you. Like you guys forming your LIs and doing it on your own, like that's how you learn the material, right? Like if somebody just gives it to you, you're not gonna learn the stuff that the way that you should learn it. And so it's just a little story to remind you that struggle is good, okay? Isn't that a great story? I think it's a great story.
All right, let's do a poll. Who thinks that's a great story?
Look,
Oh,
Taylor Swift.
hey, all right. Okay, all right. Okay. Okay. You got one clap, Jill, from the entire group. Okay. I think it's a great story too. And I think that it's very relevant for what Dr. Maury's trying to ask us all to do. Okay. Well, I don't have a long story, but I do want to share again another kind of common saying, and that is, we talk about give someone a fish and they eat for a day, or you teach them how to fish and they have food for a lifetime. Or in my case, you never catch anything, but you spend a lot of money on fishing equipment. So that may be a different story for a different time. But the point here is you are teaching someone how to fish. You are giving them skills that are going to help them be successful as they go out on their own after you are no longer there to be their coach. And that's the really rewarding thing. Sometimes it's sad actually to realize your players or your students don't need you as much as they did before. But that's really the goal, is to get them out there and let them do stuff on their own. Okay, let's go through some bad ideas and better ones. And I'll just go through these quickly. And Jill, please just jump in and editorialize and comment. So I'm going to teach my group how to do triple jump style PBL and other cool variations I've learned along the way. There are a lot of cool variations and a lot of ways to emphasize clinical reasoning and other kinds of things. But our goal in MD1, guys, and this is now your goal that you're accepting, is to help students learn the basic vanilla type of problem-based learning. Facts, problems, hypotheses, need to know, learning issues, and the processes that go around learning from that. So we have to learn to walk before we can run. And we like things like the triple jump method. We like some of these other tools that we can use to foster clinical reasoning. But those are innovations for later in their development. And we deliberately tell our PBL tutor faculty, do not do the triple jump style in MD1. Some of our faculty don't like that, to be honest with you, because they really enjoy it. But we really want our students to develop the basic skills. That's our job in MD1. Jill, just jump in if you got anything. Here's another one. I'm going to suggest that my group start studying for boards in MD1. I don't know if this happens as much anymore, given kind of the change in step one, but students do not need the added stress of worrying about step one while they're starting MD1. They are barely able to keep their noses above the water level as it is. So adding more, especially unnecessary pressure or worries to them is probably not a good thing. So again, they have enough to worry about.
I think like something that goes along with that, like I've heard, I've heard some people tell first years like, oh, like maybe you should do like 50 Anki a day. Like every day, just do that many. And that's probably like not a good recommendation to make, especially in MD1. So just remember like that they're just starting, and you don't want I'm hopefully you guys weren't too stressed out by by your upper level students when you first started, but we want them to kind of get a good foundational start. So don't, yeah, try not to add to their stress.
I'm going to tell my group to focus on only high yield basic science allies. Again, USMLE step one relevant. This may not happen quite as much as it used to, but I know it has happened in the past. As you recall, if any unit has kind of a split of the different domains of biological, clinical, behavioral, and populational, MD1 probably has a little bit more of the behavioral and populational than some of the other units that follow. So this is their chance to get to not only explore these areas, but become familiar with some of the resources, some of the challenges of learning about these types of topics, um, and to have experience doing these types of LIs before they move on. Again, I know it sounds silly, but if it wasn't important, we wouldn't ask them to learn about these things. And we do believe that the topics that we're choosing are going to be useful to all of you as you guys move forward. Okay, here's a common thing that all teachers are guilty of, certainly not just second year students, excuse me, working as MD1 coaches, but that is this idea that we can accelerate someone's development faster than our own development was. And we have the benefit of hindsight, we have the benefit of more experience now, and we think, wow, if I could do it over again, I think I could get here much faster. Well, not all shortcuts are helpful, right? In fact, shortcuts are sometimes more detrimental, especially in the hands of folks that are less experienced. So there are some shortcuts to clinical reasoning, as an example, that we're really not teaching you guys very much about yet, because it's really important to have some of the basic approaches done first. Um, So there's a time and a place, I think, for those shortcuts. This journey and this growth and this experience is really critical for our students in MD1. If the MD1 students, excuse me, just listen to all of my advice and do things my way, they'll be fine. I think we all trust ourselves that we can help people with good advice. Um, and I think that's a little bit of an overstatement. I think we really do need to give our learners a chance to explore, and you're going to have folks that are a little bit more independent in their study. Some folks are a little bit more group oriented with their study, et cetera, et cetera. So let them explore and find what works well for them. So let's choose to be a great coach, guys. Let's set high standards. Let's teach our group how to do good, solid, vanilla PBL. Let's allow them to make a few mistakes, not fatal ones, of course, but just small mistakes along the way, because that does help us grow. Um, Emphasize doing PBL well and not just trying to get through things quickly and fast. So effectiveness over efficiency. We have to be patient. Some students are going to pick up things really quick, some may not. We need to diagnose individual students and try to help them. We want to believe in their potential. They're going to be fine, and you're going to help them achieve. And being on that fine line between too much help and not enough. Um, Teach them how to fish, and whatever you do, don't cut open the chrysalis, the cocoon. So is it chrysalis for butterflies and cocoons for moths? Is that how it works?
I think so, right?
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I always grew up thinking it was a cocoon, but I don't know. That's all right. Okay, Jill, I'll let you go over this, the key dates for us.
Okay. So the first day of school for the new MS1s is going to be Monday, July 15th. That's the first day of orientation. But you folks won't have to, at least for PBL, we're not going to start the coaching until the following week, the following Monday. So even though they do have the PBL practice session, you guys actually don't have to go to that session. So that's going to be Thursday. That's when they're going to meet their tutors for the first time, and they'll just go through the practice case. And so they're just kind of practicing PBL at that point. And so your first time with them will be the week of July 22nd. And I mean, you're welcome to come if you want to, but that's actually, before the your actual experience actually starts. And then again, the midterm review session would be on Wednesday, August 14th from 11 to 12, if you guys can do that. And then the last day of PBL is Thursday, September 5th. So you folks only have to do 4 weeks. If you're in the elective, you just have to do 4 weeks. If you're just helping out, like, here and there, then I think I have your weeks that you're going to be helping out. Now, if you're their regular coach, or even if you're not their regular coach and you're just helping out, but you want to help out after the 4th week, that's also very much accepted. A lot of the students do appreciate that, but you're certainly not required to do it past 4 weeks. And, certainly once you guys start in MD6, we
Yeah.
wouldn't expect you to be coming to tutorials. So I think you guys start the last week of August.
Okay. Well, I don't know how many of these scenarios we would like to go through today, but I'm just going to read through a few. And maybe, Jill, you can stop me where there's a scenario you think might be helpful to talk about. So third week of MD1, and one of our students is trying very hard, but admits that they're spending way too much time between tutorial sessions working on LIs, which is very common in MD1 and very common certainly in the third week. I haven't done any review for the midterms yet. We sometimes hear this from students as we get close to week 5. What advice would you give them? So Jill, I'll let you decide. Do you want our students, our coaches to speak up first? Do you just want to give them your best answer for this? What do you want to do?
I think, yeah, I'd like to hear what their ideas are.
You can either type it into the chat or if you want to unmute. And it's voluntary. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. I guess that's it.
I would tell, oh, can I go?
Oh, hey, hi,
Yes,
Taylor.
you may
Sure.
go.
Hello. I would tell them to start doing 1,000 Anki cards per, no, I'm joking. So I guess if they're having trouble kind of limiting themselves for LIs, they could um try to like limit, I guess, like the number of like days they try to spend on it. Not saying like you should do it like right before the session, but like maybe from Monday to Thursday, like don't work on it till like Tuesday night, I guess, which gives you time, but like it'll like you won't spend all of your time doing the LI like through the 4 days.
Yeah, that's great. Because, we know that if in your mind you're thinking like, well, I have 3 days to do my LIs, you're gonna fill the 3 days a lot of the time, right? Like, just, I feel like this is why I procrastinate because if I know, like, if I just leave an hour, then I'll finish it in an hour. No, don't do that. Don't copy me. But but yeah, if they limit the amount of time that they say, okay, I'm only going to use this much time to do my LIs, and then the rest of the time I'm going to review, and I'm going to review the LIs from the PBL case, and then I'm going to do some background reading and things like that, then they'll be more efficient in finishing their learning issues, right? So I think, yeah, that's a great suggestion to have. Are there any other
Yeah.
suggestions people
Lexi,
might have?
were you going to say something, Lexi? No?
Yeah, actually,
Oh,
it was actually something that I got thanks to Dr. Casilla because I used to spend way too much time and I didn't really prep well when it came to like learning all the other material. So like I would always say like I would do like 1 hour picking the LI, take a break, and then do 1 hour of like reviewing. So like I couldn't like sit at my computer and just go down the rabbit hole and be like, I know nothing. And then scream. So it kind of like kept me on like a task, and then by the end of the time that I finished my LI, I've also gotten reviewing at the same time, so it's like a way for me to balance both.
That's great.
yeah, both of you. I think those are really good thoughts. And here's where your individual experiences and your perspectives can be really helpful and can be shared. Again, it may not work for everybody, but you can say, here's what I did, or here's what a couple of my friends did, or whatever. And I think that can be great perspective for your learners. It's all about time management, isn't it? And as Dr. Omori said, this LI preparation can fill every minute of the day and night if you let it, but we can't let it. We really have to fight that temptation and try to set some limits. Yeah.
One other thing you might want to do is to well, hopefully, so in addition to kind of sitting in on their LI presentations, we do ask that you kind of look through their prepared handouts and, to see, how they're formulating their handout. And one of the things that we'd like you to take a look at is their resources. And so sometimes like people are using like 10 resources for like the same topic, right? And because they want to make sure that they're getting all the information that they can. And so one thing is to look to see, yeah, how many resources they're using. And if it's a lot, then maybe talking to them about kind of limiting the amount of that they don't need to check 10 resources, and just to make sure that the ones that they choose are good, reliable resources, and just kind of talking to them about the reliability of resources at that point.
Great points. Okay, maybe we have time for one or two more. Let's see if some of these can be a little redundant. So let's see. Oh, here you are, reviewing one of your students' learning issue handouts. Oh, this is a tricky one though. You recognize that almost all of their handout is a direct cut and paste from a previous learning issue. You recognize it. It kind of looks really familiar to you. What are you going to do? And let's say this is week 2 of the unit, early in the unit where people are still trying to figure things out. So what are you going to do?
Discuss the importance of academic integrity.
Okay, yeah, I think that's part of the conversation for sure.
Definitely, it's. I mean, I feel like a lot of my learning actually comes from generating the LIs. So I mean, just explaining to them that if they do that, they're losing out on a lot. That's
great. I agree. Anyone else? Can I
Angela,
ask, would any of you guys,
Angela
oh,
made a
Angela's there?
comment.
Okay, yep, go ahead.
She said, I think I would ask why they did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good. And, I think that the answer to that would really help, I think, in terms of what advice or suggestions you might give. Would anyone report this to the course director, run to Dr. Taranishi's office and knock on her door, interrupt a meeting? Anybody? Doesn't look like it.
What if they kept doing it?
Well, that's different. All right, that's different, Jill. Okay. But I think the way we framed it, second week,
Yeah.
still figuring it out. I think if you guys feel you can handle this and you see things respond well, I think that's okay. But as Dr. Mori said, if it repeats itself and you or anyone else recognizes that, then I do think we have to kick it up the chain essentially and let us as course directors talk to them. If it becomes a consistent issue, then it is a issue related to professional behavior that the school will have to address. But innocent mistake early on, I think you guys can use your judgment. Okay.
I think something that's kind of related to this that we haven't really addressed very much with the classes, but we're probably going to start doing is the use of AI.
Yeah.
So, clearly we don't want students to be using AI to write their lies. So, and then sometimes you can kind of tell, if something is AI generated. So, we want to tell the students. So the first years are going to be told like they should not be using AI to write their learning issues. You can use AI though, maybe to like you can ask like Chat GPT like what might be the best resources to look at, for this topic, right? If they're having maybe a hard time finding resources but they shouldn't use it to generate their actual LI. So there's, I think, good ways of using AI to help. Or one of the things that I feel they can use AI for is also to help them generate questions. Like, if you're going to put questions in your LI for your group to answer, I think it's totally fine to ask, to get AI to help you write. I mean, of course, they have to review the question and make sure it's, a good one with correct answers. But that may be a way that people can help use AI to help them. But there has to be kind of a line of where we should be using AI.
All right. Oh, here's one that I think is worth a moment of conversation. One of your students, very nice, bright, hardworking, but in PBL, as you observe them, they're really, really quiet. They hardly say anything. And the other students just, they're doing their thing as they should. And the tutor seems to now be paying less attention, unfortunately, to the student as they slowly kind of blend in to the wallpaper. So what are we going to do for this student?
I would say like just to like start it off, we could like suggest like just doing round robin when like discussing so that like they can get their thoughts in and feel like more comfortable doing it.
Nice.
Just kind of like calling them out.
Yeah. So this might be a conversation with your tutor as one, possibility. And I think suggesting things that help students feel more comfortable speaking out. That's a great example. And I think round robin, as you say, Taylor, is a great example. Anything else? I keep looking at the chat and I keep seeing Angela's answer, which actually applies to all of our scenarios. So
That is
all
kind
right,
of true, though.
it is kind of true. Like a great.
I mean, I think it's, Yeah, I think it's worth, like, if especially if it's kind of noticeable, to kind of just ask them, just say something like, I've noticed that in tutorial you can be, kind of on the quiet side, you know, is there a particular reason? Because sometimes it's that they just need a little more time to process. Sometimes they feel like they don't know what's going on, so they don't want to say anything. Sometimes they just maybe they don't even realize that they're not talking, so it sometimes is good for them to get the feedback, and like maybe you can help them with whatever is going on. And yeah, I think please feel free to talk to the tutors too about if you notice things going on, because sometimes the tutors don't notice it, but you might notice it. And so, I think the tutor would appreciate you just kind of pointing things out. And yeah, if they want suggestions, or if you have some suggestions about how you might be able to change that, then I think they would definitely appreciate that.
I think we have time maybe for one more, Jill. So you tell me when you think we have a good one you want to stop on. So this one is about family pressure. This is not studying
So maybe that
for.
one.
Okay, all right, okay. What do we think? Now, as faculty, we're kind of not guilty, deliberately guilty, I guess, of telling the students, it's a practice exam, don't stress out, see how you do and all that. But we also like our students to take it seriously enough that their performance is a reflection of their studying and their effectiveness of their studying. But we do have students who hear what we say, don't stress out, and they say, I'm not going to study for it at all, and I'll see how I do. And despite our warning against them, I can almost guarantee, or at least think back, I think almost every year, Jill, we've been doing this. At least one student after the midterm that we've called in to have a conversation with has said, I just didn't study. So what advice would you guys give them based on your experience with midterms and finals and all that stuff in our system?
I think I would try to help reframe their mindset towards it. Like, it's good that it's ungraded and you shouldn't stress so much about it, but like it's an opportunity that the course directors are giving you to understand what they care about, what they are hoping
That's
that
good.
you're studying in PBL, what they want to test you on for the exams that actually are graded. So, I think our class has taken the midterms very seriously, and I think like we've really benefited from the opportunity to have them. So yeah, I would just kind of encourage them to think like that and to study for it as if it were real, because in 4 weeks they'll be taking a real exam anyway. So.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a really good point. I see Angela has something in the chat. I think I would ask why they did that. No kidding. All right. Okay. Angela says, you're studying to be a good physician, not just to pass. I think that's really good. Yeah.
Very true.
I think this is like the first test you're ever taking in medical school, and like really you don't know how it's gonna go. And I think this is a really great time to practice at least studying really hard. And then you can kind of gauge from there like how the rest of the MD1 can go for you. So I would tell them to try to study as much as you can for this one, and then maybe you can like reevaluate after the midterm.
Yeah. I like that, Jordan. Nothing wrong with being a little over prepared, and then you can always, dial it to a appropriate range after that, but that's good. Okay. Jill, I think that might be all we have time for. Some other scenarios. One student who's a little weaker. So this is someone that's probably going to need a little bit of help and attention. You guys are welcome to have a conversation with them first, but if you have any red flags, please send them to us so we can provide as much direct help as we can. You are kind of the sentinels for us out there, picking up things. like a, I don't know, sentinel lymph nodes. Is that kind of a bad? I don't know if that's a good analogy or not. But anyway, the point is, you guys are often the first ones to recognize things, and if you can bring it to our attention, we can get them help quicker.
Yeah, you shouldn't feel like you have to provide like the
Yes,
remediation. Like, you
yes.
know, certainly if you have good tips for them, then that's great. But yeah, if somebody's really struggling, then, you know, please feel free to come and talk to us about that. Or encourage them also to seek help too.
I don't know how strong the Church of Anki is in your class, but that's something to think about too. And when's the right time? Again, there are your classmates who will be talking to our students about Anki as part of the curriculum and such. So, okay. Looking a little too far ahead, maybe to start. This happens from time to time. And actually kind of miss out. If you're not present in the now, you miss out on a lot of stuff. So I think helping our students stay present is important. Kind of a mean, kind of not nice person. Not too receptive to feedback. Again, trust your senses. If you think there's something that's going to not bode well for them in the future, let us know. Not with judgment, not like I think Richard's a jerk or whatever. No, but you know, the student might need to be reminded or talked to about whatever.
But you should then go to Dr. Asano's office and ask her why she let them in. No, I'm
No,
just
no,
kidding.
no, no, no. You do
I'm just
not
kidding. I'm just kidding.
not do that. Gosh, bad role modeling. This you might see. The earlier student who wasn't talking in PBL, there could be a ton of reasons, as Jill said, for that. And it's not necessarily personality. It's not necessarily that they're quote unquote an introvert. It could be all kinds of reasons that people choose not to speak up. But sometimes we do have students, and in fact, I would say more than sometimes, that have a little bit more comfort doing things on their own and a little less comfort socially extending themselves to others. I was that student in medical school. Yes, friendly Richard. I was definitely that student, the loner. So, and it wasn't great for me. I mean, it wasn't a lot of fun. So I think it really did help when people kind of started to help me feel more socially accepted. So anyway, point is, you might be the one to pick this up too. As I said, you are a sentinel for us, and you might be able to help some students better socialize. Yeah, I think we talked about this already. Staying present. Oh, and Jill talked about this earlier, AI, and we are a little nervous about where this can go. Okay, before we let you go, any questions for Dr. Mori or myself?
I just have one more just a general thing that
Yeah.
tutors have brought up in the past is that you know, just to remind you folks, like your role is not the same as like an MS4 tutor. So, you know, like when the MS4s come and are the co-tutors for your group, like your role is not to be the tutor. So in PBL itself, you probably shouldn't be talking very much at all, you know, and you're kind of there to observe them and to then give them feedback after tutorial or something like that. So sometimes it's a little hard for the tutors if the coaches are like too involved. I think that some of the tutors, you know, certainly don't mind or will ask you like, oh, what do you think? You know, and that's totally fine to, you know, jump in at that point. But you know, try to make sure that you're not trying to take over the group or something like that, because, you know, certainly, yeah, that's not the role of a coach. So,
Great point. There is a distinction there. We don't have any MS4 PBL tutors in
yeah.
MD1, so there won't be any direct interaction with them in MD1. But sometimes people can get a little confused. Great. Questions? Joe, parting words?
No, I'm just really thankful that for all of you that are helping out with coaching, especially this year where your class doesn't want to coach this year.
Oh,
or
that's
or or it's probably, I don't know, maybe a lot of you guys are going away, so it's
okay.
hard this year. But I'm really thankful for all the, there's a lot of other people that have signed up to do like, a couple weeks here and there
Oh,
or
good.
something.
Okay.
So I will try to get the schedules out to you as soon as I can. But thank you so much for being interested in helping our new students. I think we really, there's been a very big difference from when we didn't have coaches. So I think it really does help the students to assimilate faster when they have a coach.
Okay, guys, anything else before we wrap up? Just want to echo Dr. Maury's thanks. We couldn't do this without you, so thank you very much for helping. Okay, well, if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Let us know. Enjoy your well-deserved MD5 break and a little bit of summer vacation time. And yeah, you guys certainly worked really hard this year, so you deserve a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.